After 15 years of fierce fighting, costing thousands of lives and billions of dollars, Afghanistan's Helmand province has come almost full circle, with much of it back under Taliban control. So where now for this most futile of wars? Najib Khaja has been to find out.
Helmand, southern Afghanistan, has long been the key battleground of the Afghan war. More coalition lives have been lost here than in any other province. But since the majority of NATO troops pulled out in 2014, the Taliban have regained territory.
15 days ago, this area was actually controlled by the Taliban. They managed to take some of the checkpoints here, and they actually closed down the road. They put up their own checkpoints, and they mined the area. But obviously, government forces, they've taken the area back now.
شمال لشکر گاه جنگ هستک یا شمالش هستک؟ از شما اندیوالای شما خوب زخمی یا کشته نشده؟
کشته میشه، چطور نمیشه؟ از ما تقریبا یک شب 12 نفر کشته شد.
چه وقت؟
یک چند وقت پیش.
I'm heading to the city of Marjah. In 2010, it was a Taliban stronghold until coalition forces launched one of the biggest offensives of the war.
We will clear the Taliban from its safe havens. Together, Operation Moshtarak will mark the start of the end of this insurgency.
At least 15 coalition soldiers and an unknown number of civilians were killed. But the insurgency was only briefly suppressed. I'm the first Western journalist to visit the area since the Taliban retook control.
So we're filming with my mobile phone right now, so the camera is hidden over there.
As we enter the district, we start seeing the Taliban's white flags and the opium fields from which they generate much of their revenue. But then we are stopped at the Taliban checkpoint.
Arrived to the headquarters of one of the local commanders, and we've asked for permission to film in that area, and we're waiting to get an answer.
We arranged our access here with the Taliban's media department, but the fighters here haven't been told we're coming. They allow us to film, but still, the fact that something's gone wrong with the access is making me nervous.
مجاهده بخیر دلته خبري اعلان غلي دي انا څه فلم برداري کو یا څنګه دغه کو نه نو ما ول دغه به څنګه شي اجازه ستا ورته کنهسته.
At the moment, we're just waiting to get access to the front line. They told us that they would like to show us what kind of progress they made recently.
تیر وکال کې الحمدلله مجاهدینو ډیر پرمختګ کړی دی د ناوی ولسوالۍ د مرجې ولسوالۍ دی هغه ټول مجاهدینو په لاس کې دی ډیر تقریبا په 100% کې 80% مجاهدینو پرمختګ کړی دی حکومت د تشدیدلې دی نسته یو ځای د ولسوالۍ کې داس دی مسیره دی چې هغه د تایرو د لارې کمال کوي هغه د ورځ تایرې نس کښنولای د شپې کښنه
ټول وطن د مرجې د ټولې ولسوالۍ د حج د مجاهدینو په لاس کې ده او د ښار کې د مدالي ولسوالۍ د غاره طریقه ده د ناوې ولسوالۍ پر مخ فتح ده د زارجو ته د غاره کوم خانشین د فتح سوی ده 15 کسان تسلیمیږي دا اوس برای ماته یو کس تسلیم شو بله شپه 2 کسان تسلیم شو بله شپه 3 کسان تسلیم شو.
The Taliban's key weapon in dominating territory is IEDs, or improvised explosive devices. Homemade bombs have killed more coalition and government troops than any other weapon in the war.
د پیادو د پاره دي دغه اوس دغه د اسرائیل چا موټر و د لنجر دغه من چې ډېر مصرف غواړي 1500 کالوري بالا مصرف نه پرایز او هغه غټ میل ټانګان لاغه چې 2000 3000 مصرف بالا نه پرایز دا تخته کې وسمان دا ګرځه دغه ګور دا د تخته کې بیا موږ جوړو دغه اوس بیا موږ دې ته بستا کوو دا چې کله پټوو دا هلته لرې ورته پټوو نو دا دلته پټوو ټانګ یا لنجر چې راځي پر دې چې وخېږي بیا دغه پټاویږي دلته بیا یو کشناکه پټاکۍ ده دا بشکې ورکوو دا پټاکۍ چې پټاو شي پریم کارت دی پریم کارت دغه ته ور راولي دا پټاشین ده دا پټاشین چې پټاو شوه بس دغه ماسې خالصان پټاشین دی د هر څه دا ټانک دی دا ګرد دا لمبایه پرې کوي دا ډېر احتیاط غواړي د احتیاط دپاره دا درس ویل غواړي کنی نور دا داسې ښه وسایل زده کوي.
Suddenly, there is a disruption. The man in grey with his back to the camera is a policeman who has just surrendered to the Taliban.
طالبان خو ته په دې راځي چې بالا هغه اوس د هغه رژیم ختم دی بالا کار خلاص دی زمان موږ چې دغه په دغه وطن لاس ورځ کې 15 نفر تللي دي.
He agrees to be interviewed on the condition that we don't reveal his identity.
دوی ماسک و درواغ وایي نن لار درې لاکو سار لار درې لاکو مشران ګرد وتښتېدل ولاړل بالا دا کشران ګرد پرېښي دي بالا هغه ګرد دلته وږي تږي ناست دي بالا تنخوا نه راکوه شی نه راکوه.
Then, the local commander gets a call from a more senior authority about our request to film at the front line. We hoped this was the call we've been waiting for, but suddenly there seems to be a problem. I'm not sure exactly what's happening now, but we are taken to a more senior commander's house. We are allowed to continue filming, but this commander is suspicious and tells us not to point the camera at him. All we can do is wait.
دا ډېر د خدای شکر ما نشي ادا کول زه ډېر د الله څخه راضي یم ګزاره نه وه په شمزي وو دوی موږ ویشتو موږ دوی ویشته دا شان وسل داسې په خوشحاله دي لکه لمر چې په راختلی ډېر په عذابه د دغو منافقینو د لاس یو وخت په نه خو دنیا د ځان بلل نه ژوند د ځان بلل چې ارامي راغلې مرجې ته ډېر وخت کېږي.
A car arrives with 2 high-level commanders. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes. The commander who was suspicious had gone to the court to make a complaint, and a commission has been set up to interrogate us.
So, something went wrong today. We got imprisoned by the Taliban. They said that we didn't have proper permission to be here.
I managed to hide my mobile phone, which I used to record this footage. But this isn't my first time in Taliban captivity. 9 years ago, I was kidnapped in Helmand. That time, I was lucky and I managed to escape. Here, I was repeatedly accused of being a spy. And I can't help thinking that the chances of getting lucky again are slim.
The prison is right over there, the building to the right. That's the prison where they kept us. And we're just really happy that we can go back to our families and friends. It's a relief.
It turned out that the Taliban's media wing had still not connected with the Taliban in Marjah. We were released the next day. Now, I want to see how it looks like from the other side. So I'm on my way to the province capital, Lashkar Gah, which is just 60 kilometers from Marjah. The Taliban has gradually been consolidating power over the surrounding countryside and edging ever closer. Even so, a soldier on the checkpoint into the city is optimistic.
وضعیت بس ښه په سور کې دی شکر د ملي اردو ځوانان ولاړ دي پوه شوې هېڅ خبره نشته خیر و خیرات د دې ځای نه لشکرګاه پورې ښه چارو پنچ تلای شو.
But as we enter Lashkar Gah, we see the effects of the war on the civilian population. Thousands of refugees are flooding into the city every month, fleeing the fighting in the outlying districts as the Taliban encircled the city.
بولان. خب حال از جنگ آمدن؟
جنگ شروع کرد. دیر وقت که مشت کیش.
چې پر مشتاق هم وسو چې چاره باندې کې ګولې مخ ته ومشته.
وقت طالبان په زملي.
نه خو چې د دې خو را باندې وسو کده خو مشته درک نه معلومه دی مش خپل وا ما خستې ونی مشيان ما دي ګرد بسرا. اوس ما د کور پاتې سم مشته درک نه معلومه چې لا بي وی سي کبه پاتې سي.
بولان سره غلي په جنگو کې اوس موږ واره پینې لري چې کوم خاطر لاړ هغه انسان له دغه ټکټ خلک نشته مې سره دراوزي
So I've been traveling to Helmand and staying in Lashkar Gah extensively throughout the years, and I've actually never experienced the sound of rockets, grenades in the provincial capital, and it shows that the situation has changed a lot since I left last time.
In the overstretched government hospital, I meet Nazir, a policeman whose unit was overrun at a checkpoint.
برخور ما هم تاکسی تفاهم پیش کرد روز دیگه اشتکات و بالا میدهید بازی میکرد امروز هیچ کس نیست وقتی که ما حرکت کردیم که بریم موتر اول ما را که اول خودمو بریم موتر اول ما را من بالا کرد حدود 2 متر از کون موتر دور افتادم و دیگه دوستای ما که بود رنجر از یکیش پاش قطع شد دو تای دیگه بیخی توتا شد که موتر کمکی ما که رسید از موتر کمکی ما را دیگه 3-4 اندیواله ما را زنده گرفت که تانگ از سرشان تیپ کردن.
The sound of the war is never far off. "200,000 civilians live in Lashkar Gah, and aid agencies are warning of a potential humanitarian crisis if the city becomes a battleground.
So I've just been picked up by the Afghan security forces, and we are driving towards the front line in the neighboring district, Nawa. It's not that far from Lashkar Gah.
I'm with a patrol that's on a mission to resupply outlying bases. Here, the front line is just 4 kilometers from Lashkar Gah, and the bases we're visiting are all that stands between the city and the Taliban. We arrive at the first base, and Shukrullah, the captain, has to explain to the base commander that he doesn't have the supplies they need.
رئیس ارکان د لیوه تیل مې درته اوس راوړي دي خو تیل داسې حساب دی چې تیل 18مه ورځ بعد تیل راکوي تیل دغه اوس تیل راکړي دي او دغه دوه ټانګونه یو امبیله مونږ 5مه ورځ بعد تیل اخلي 200 لیټره تیل خلاص پیرونه کانډا کې 4 راوړي دي کانډا کې سي راوړي دي پرونه کومانډ کانډا کې ویل بوره وخت کې ټانګه ما انځت باز ما ټیرا مې
We go to check an outpost close to the base.
So we had to run when we crossed the bridge. And the reason is that the Taliban, they have snipers over there. So they're shooting after people and they're not so far from here, actually.
They're keen to put on a show of power for the camera. But the Afghan army has major issues with the lack of trust from local villagers. "95% of these soldiers are from the north, from areas with long-standing hostilities towards the Helmandis they're supposed to be protecting. And the long-standing animosity between different communities, regions and tribes is the source of the conflict that has split the country with decades of civil war."
دښمن تعداد خو والا معلومیږي نه کله چې خبر اتیام شي سلام شي یو نیم سلام شي دغلته د صحابانه مطلب راځي پراته غټه وسلم کاری وروره تو غوندیم راولي موزمغه موزایلم راولي اشتدودوم ولي او دا سکیل دا وړي سلاګانې دا خو 24 ساعت دو ولندغونه کوي وش او بس خدای دې مونږ ته خیر را پیښ کړي ان شاء الله.
بیرغونه معلومیږي دلته نږدې چې مو بیرغ شنه او بیرغونه معلومیږي.
The next outpost we come to is manned by a combination of local paid militia and police.
So the Afghan local police here in this area, they just told me that Taliban, they're right on the other side of the river, and they actually have snipers, so we have to be careful.
Gora adaga nidi na par nidi tarasa kan program gora da awul pakar ki aga wo pawashe she pashe pamulkiandi yara apatam gora bal wala da akwati sara a terei
دا خو وس روان دی دا وایي یو راکې کلیری
دا سکیل من مې ورسیږي
او خو ورسیږي خو
که شکمن کسان یې ورته کش
وس را تاوان
یو ټاک
متوجه باش نه
انا دې وزغاستل پټ سول خاص دوی دي کوم مادران اوس روان دي داسې ورځي په پښو میده د دغه په باندې
تایریان دي راځي.
As you can see, they're also growing a hashish plant here. It's not a secret that a lot of police officers, they consume it.
The patrol's on the way to the last base, and as soon as we arrive, there's incoming fire.
بره په یو توپک یا په یو سکیل نه هغه سره تارسه موږ یو توپک یو سکیل دا شان لرو هغه سره ارسه ورسره دي پیژنې غټ سلاوي ارسه لري دغه که دغه خوا مخ ګورې خو دا اوس په موږ دروښي یو پلای ما کړی اوس تا دا سره سمبر را باندې کړی واو دا خو ډېر خراب مشکل نشته دا چې موږ دا کړي دي ګونی مورت دا ول
کام کوي
یا کوي مشکل نشته خوش دي نه کې
سپینم دانی کې بیره دا په خاتم بیره ده هم بیره پر پوسټاون
The smaller cracks we can hear are the sound of Taliban bullets breaking the sound barrier as they pass close over our heads.
والله که دغه شپاړس اوولس کال وی څنګه وضعیت خو داسې لکه دته چې وینې
کدام منطقه است؟
هرمندو
در گرشک اونجا طالبان زیاد است؟
آره طالبان زیاد است
رفته نمیتونی
یا چیرت لایستو
چی میکنن اگه گیرت کنن طالبان میگه
والله کنه چې موږ یې ونیسو موږ څه چمپه کوو موږ ته دولت خو ته سپارو هغه خو مو وژني هغه والله که وقت نه راکړي
تا چند صنف چند مکتب شما خوندید؟
یا مکتب نه دی ولی
نه
As I leave Helmand, I can't help thinking about the billions of dollars and many thousands of lives, particularly the civilian lives, that have been thrown away here. Coalition forces declared victory in 2014, but clearly that claim is hollow today. Wanting to understand this further, I headed for London to talk to an ex-British military intelligence officer who served in Helmand.
Can you explain why you think the Taliban, they've been able to become so strong in Helmand again?
Well, first of all, we need to understand that the people we call the Taliban are not necessarily the people who are the Taliban. Even NATO said that 75% of Taliban casualties came within 20 minutes walk of where they lived. So that speaks of a local resistance movement, of a movement that's deeply embedded in Helmandi society and in Afghan society. And we fail to understand that. We assumed that this was some kind of foreign import, but they weren't. The Taliban, as we call them, were part of Helmandi society. Not the majority, not necessarily supported by everybody, not even supported by a majority, but they were the local boys. They were the people who were standing up for their communities or seen to be resisting the enemy invader. And there's direct analogies to be drawn from Vietnam, where even more preponderance of force was applied and even more people were killed. Because you're fighting for the allegiance of people who aren't going to give you, as a foreigner, their allegiance under any circumstances at all.
The Afghan government and foreign allies flooded Helmand with extra troops late last year. And after bitter fighting, they were able to repel the Taliban advance. Now, as Al Jazeera reported recently, the Taliban's 2017 spring offensive is approaching. And with reduced foreign support for the Afghan government, Helmand is about to move into a new, even bloodier phase of conflict.